This is CBC Vancouver News.
The busy holiday travel season is off to a smooth start.
Quite quiet, really. Just checked in straight away, no problems at all.
A stark contrast from last year. We'll find out why. Plus, the countdown is on until Christmas.
How many people do you need to buy for?
I think probably about like 6 people. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Could be worse.
We catch up with some last-minute shoppers making the mad dash to get it all done. And prefab tiny homes arrive in Prince George.
We don't plan to stop until all the needs are met.
What it means for the area's unhoused residents. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Dan is off tonight. Transit ridership is growing fast as pandemic restrictions ease, and TransLink's CEO admits there are growing pains for riders on many routes. The CBC's Liam Britton and Akshay Kulkarni wanted to know what 10 routes are most complained about, so they filed a Freedom of Information request to find out why they cause such commuter angst. As they explain, potential fixes will cost a lot more than bus fare.
Line, everywhere a line. Sometimes commuting home is so bad, you may want to sing a protest song.
I don't know why there is no more service.
Here at King George Station in Surrey, Indercore takes the 321 bus, one of the most complained about routes in all of Metro Vancouver and the most complained about in Surrey.
I'm not surprised. It's very crowded. There's no space to stand also because there are so many people on this route.
In Vancouver, ironworker Genevieve Capilano is proud to be building the latest, most state-of-the-art piece of transit infrastructure in Metro Vancouver, the Broadway subway. But until it's finished, she rides the busiest, most complained about piece of transit infrastructure in Metro Vancouver.
99 B line, CBC.
The 99 B line.
Oh man, it's like sardines in a can, for sure. It's just so crowded. People are waiting 2-3 buses to just get home.
These are 2 of the 10 most complained about TransLink bus routes, and fixes may be a long ride away. Now, TransLink sent CBC News data on its 10 most complained about bus routes for 11 months of the year, and through a Freedom of Information request, we got the actual words of customers' complaints.
Yet another bus with sorry bus full. Why is it that even on a Sunday morning, I can't rely on TransLink to get me to work on time?
I try and leave earlier, and it's still late, or it just doesn't come, or is full. It's obvious more buses are needed. It's ridiculous how bad it is.
Now, it's worth noting that complaints are actually down about 6.5% from last year, but some of the busiest routes are causing real frustration.
The 99 led the way with the most complaints. But if we look at complaints per million trips, it's actually the 23, a tiny bus in the West End. Other routes in the 10 most complained about include the R4, the 25, and the 49, as well as the 319, the 335, and the 321. What do riders complain about the most? Driver issues about half the time, along with overcrowding and not getting on board.
I waved at the bus driver twice, which he saw me do, so that he would stop at the stop and pick me up. He looked at me and drove right past me, not picking me up.
The bus just drove past and it was a couple of people waiting. This is not the first time it has happened, and I'm very unhappy as a customer. Some bus drivers in Surrey need to be more considerate.
TransLink says they're investing heavily in customer experience and communication, and complaints about drivers are investigated and act upon if warranted.
We had over 400 million boardings last year, so that's 1 complaint per 16,000 boardings.
But overcrowding is harder to fix.
Bigger buses where we can and increase service as much as we can, but we're really bumping up against the limitations of our system with our current funding.
TransLink and its Mayor's Council want a massive service expansion, including a doubling of buses. But the $21 billion plan is unfunded, and current revenues aren't keeping up with today's demands alone.
You know, we essentially fall off a bit of a fiscal cliff starting in the beginning of 2026. And so we don't sit here with an ability to expand services now.
Dennis Agar knows that firsthand.
I saw the data and the numbers really rapidly rising about overcrowding.
Agar worked at TransLink for 10 years, planning bus routes. But he said he became increasingly frustrated with the authorities' inability to keep up with demand.
And I really started to notice the numbers creep up in terms of overcrowding and pass-ups and delay.
He quit in October to found a non-profit advocating for passengers.
Thought I could achieve more on the outside.
And he's worried that a lack of funding has TransLink moving buses from one busy region to another.
Taking buses from places like Vancouver, where the ridership is coming back more slowly, and shifting them to Surrey. But they've already cut service in Vancouver as much as they can. They've cut it to the bone.
TransLink says that's a grim reality amid its funding crunch, and it has raised the need for transit dollars many times in 2023. While Victoria and Ottawa both highlight the billions they've already spent on transit, they aren't yet offering many specifics for new commitments. The BC government says it's working to find sustainable revenue for TransLink, including for its expansion priorities. Meanwhile, the federal government is promising permanent transit funding for longer-term plans, expansion, and projects, but those dollars aren't rolling out until 2026. And until that money arrives and service expands, passengers could be in for more bumpy rides. For CBC News, I'm Liam Britton.
And I'm Akshay Kulkarni.
Abbotsford police say 2 separate collisions have left one pedestrian dead and another in critical condition. Officers say they responded to the first collision just after 5 o'clock this evening near the intersection of Old Yale Road and Victoria Street. A 77-year-old woman was sent to hospital with life-threatening injuries and remains in critical condition. 6 minutes later, officers responded to a second collision involving a pedestrian at the Marshall Road extension near the Abbotsford Airport. A 40-year-old man died of his injuries at the scene. Both drivers remained on scene and are cooperating with police. Impairment is not believed to be a factor in either crash. Road closures in both areas are in effect while police investigate. The Vancouver Fire Department says the number of calls they've received this year is at a record high. Fire officials say as of this past Thursday, crews responded to more than 70,000 calls. The last time they saw a spike like that was in 2017. Officials say the uptick is partly to do with battery-powered technologies.
We're seeing an increase in fires related to lithium-ion batteries. Lithium-ion batteries are in more and more products every day, and with that comes an increased risk.
Among the list of top fire hazards are cooking, dropped smoking materials, and lockable lighters. Health authorities are warning more young people in BC are getting sick with strep infections. They say there have been 51 cases of bacterial infections among people under the age of 20 this year. That's more than twice the number forecasted by health officials. Strep bacteria causes illnesses like strep throat or skin infections. While most people get better with antibiotics, some infections can spread and become life-threatening. Parents are being asked to monitor children who are sick for symptoms like a fever lasting more than 5 days, full body rashes, and difficulties breathing. This time last year, the Vancouver International Airport was awash with holiday travel chaos, with a slew of cancellations and delays that left some passengers trapped on the tarmac for hours and others sleeping on the airport floor. But today, as Sohrab Sandhu tells us, despite it being the busiest travel day of the year, traffic appears to be flowing smoothly, with passengers reporting little in the way of trouble.
It's a joyous time of year. Travelers at Vancouver International Airport appear in no hurry. There's even time to stop for a treat.
We went through so fast. It's very relaxed.
Just checked in straight away, no problems at all.
I was checked in, I got through my baggage quickly.
This calm, even amid huge crowds. Vancouver International Airport says it's expecting more than 70,000 passengers today alone, making it one of the busiest days of this holiday season.
People have been coming a little early. They've been listening to our messages around how to pack and prepare, and so things are moving really well.
Last year, thousands of passengers were left stranded at YVR. after a massive snowstorm hit much of the south coast just days before Christmas, causing widespread flight delays and cancellations. But this year, milder weather has meant less passenger anxiety. Ruman says favorable weather conditions at other airports have also helped.
Calgary and Toronto are our two busiest destinations. So even if it is mild and rainy here, if it's snowing there, it can cause significant inbound delays, particularly for baggage that comes after passengers arrive.
For those traveling over water on BC ferries, it was smooth sailing after some initial hiccups. 2 ferries between Schwartz Bay and Tsawwassen were delayed this morning due to staffing shortages.
Do you have relief crew and staffing pool crew that we can call in? And that's what we did this morning.
BC Ferry says it's adding more than 150 extra sailings. It estimates December 23rd, 26th and 27th to be the busiest days of this holiday season. Marshall says the clear weather conditions mean they do not anticipate any major disruptions, but still a warning to be prepared.
But up on our northern routes, we are seeing some winter winds coming in. So anybody traveling between Port Hardy, Prince Rupert, and Haida Gwaii, do check our website.
So while most British Columbians will not celebrate a white Christmas, it has turned out to be a blessing in disguise for travelers. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
There's just 3 more sleeps until Christmas, and for some who still need to buy gifts, that means it's crunch time. We caught up with shoppers at Burnaby's Metrotown Mall who are making the mad dash to get it all done.
How many people do you need to buy for?
I think probably about like 6 people. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Could be worse.
So who have you knocked off right now?
I'm doing my mom's Christmas shopping for my dad right now, and my dad's Christmas shopping for my mom.
So you were doing 3 people's Christmas shopping?
Yes. I'm the oldest daughter. That's kind of what you gotta do.
I still have to buy for 1 more child.
We were just on a trip, so we just got back, so we're last minute Christmas shopping, so yeah.
I did a lot online, so I'm just last minute in here picking up a few things that I don't have online.
What are you buying?
I don't know, but I'm planning to buy something.
So what's the best part of Christmas?
The presents.
And to Prince George now, where 6 prefab tiny homes for unhoused residents arrived at an encampment this morning, with more set to come in the new year. Calgary-based company In Green Building Systems donated and drove the tiny homes to the Moccasin Flats encampment. The company says it wanted to help volunteers who have been building shelters with donated materials and money.
Our company is just grateful to have the opportunity to be able to make a difference and be part of this.
We don't plan to stop until all the needs are met. I think this is going to go through the summer and probably through the winter and into the summer.
In Green Building Systems says it plans to deliver more in the new year, adding to the 9 already built by locals. But there is still a wait list with more than 60 people. A police use of force instructor says that a video of 3 officers charged with assault appears to show consistent actions with police training. Retired VPD Sergeant Brad Fawcett testified in the trial of Constables Brandon Blue and Bo Spencer, and now retired Constable Gregory Jackson. All 3 have been charged with assault in connection with a 2017 arrest of David Cowie, an obstruction and theft suspect. Fawcett says the punches he saw in the video didn't seem to have much force behind them, and that the knee strikes he could see seemed to be aimed at the lower half of Cowie's body, consistent with police use of force training. HSBC says it expects the sale of its Canadian operations to RBC to close in the first quarter of 2024. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland gave final approval of the sale yesterday after the Competition Bureau approved the $13.5 billion takeover in September. The sale includes a guarantee that none None of HSBC Canada's 4,000 employees will be fired within 6 months of the closing date or 2 years for frontline staff. Banking services must continue to be provided at a minimum of 33 HSBC branches for 4 years. After the break, some tourism experts say Vancouver is facing a critical hotel room shortage. We'll take a look at what this means for the industry as a whole. That's next. Thanks for watching our commercial-free live stream. The BC wine industry is going through some challenging times. Karen Graham with the Vancouver International Wine Festival tells Gloria Makarenko many in the industry are trying to navigate extreme weather events, declining tourism, and increased costs.
So here we have a sector that combines agriculture with marketing and tourism, and of course, business. I mean, how would you describe the evolution of the BC wine industry?
Right. Since my very first involvement in the industry, which goes back to 1998, as an employee at a Kelowna area winery, it has grown, especially within the last 5 to 8 years, just grown so rapidly and impressively. There are over 300 licensed wineries in British Columbia now. About 280 to 290 up and down the Okanagan Valley where I now live. And it's been just such a pleasure to see the robustness of the industry. Not sure that that's a word that's really quite right to use today for the factors that we'll get into. But it's just been an explosion of interest by the consumer, but also very much by people from other walks of life who really bring a passion, mostly to the smaller and medium-sized wineries, family-owned businesses, and they're feeling the pinch a little bit now. So I think there's some adjustments that are underway in the industry really as we speak right now.
Okay, well, that's encouraging to hear. So if it's not robust now, when did things start to get complicated?
Well, in some ways, they've been complicated for a very long time. If you work in the wine industry or produce any regulated beverage, there's a lot of public policy requirements around that, rightly so. Alcohol is an intoxicant. But there's an array of, because as you mentioned, all of these aspects to the industry, so from agriculture to tourism, so many facets that come into it, there's really a dizzying array of regulations that winery owners or would-be winery owners and operators need to follow. There are an array of taxes, of course, that need to be paid both by really all along the supply chain. That ends up costing the consumer in the glass and in the bottle, as we're seeing now. There is a bit of a slowdown in the rate of purchases and in sales as tracked by the BC Liquor Distribution Branch recently. That is certainly a concern. It's a capital-intensive industry, and it's a bit of a difficult industry to make even a little bit of money.
It's well known that housing is extremely expensive in Vancouver, but hotel rooms are not only also expensive, they're hard to book. Lindsay Duncombe explains why.
Vancouver has it all: views, dining, entertainment. But good luck finding a place to stay.
It is a city in global demand. Unfortunately, the infrastructure, namely hotel rooms, has not kept up with this demand.
Destination Vancouver says the city needs to build 10,000 new hotel rooms by 2050. Already, low supply means high prices, especially for big events like the upcoming Taylor Swift concert. One Florida visitor was quoted more than $3,700 for 2 nights at this hardly fancy hotel. The average price for a stay here, closer to $150 a night.
That was definitely like a shock that someone would even want to do that or charge people or take advantage of people in that way.
Or perhaps
But this urban planning professor says everyone should have seen this coming.
it isn't just, say, one player, but it's how a series of individual decisions that were independent of each other actually have this cumulative effect.
One of those decisions, building housing instead of hotels. Take what's happening on this corner. It used to be a posh hotel with one of those then trendy revolving restaurants, torn down now to make way for 2 condo towers with affordable units mixed in.
Aren't apartments more important than hotels, though?
I think that apartments are important in particular places just as much as hotels need to be in others, and that it is about striking a balance between the two.
With limited, expensive land, it's tough to get that balance right. Hotels mean jobs and cash. Destination Vancouver says if the problem isn't fixed, the city could lose out on $30 billion by 2050. And this city councillor says not having enough hotel rooms can actually drive up housing costs.
If we have a shortage of hotel rooms, then naturally things like Airbnb, legal or illegal, start to flourish, and people are simply looking for somewhere to stay.
The city is trying to make it easier to build hotels. Council passed a motion to change where they can be built and encourage projects that mix housing and hotels. It'll take a while. So, in the meantime, if you want a view like this, book early and be prepared to pay up. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, as you heard, it's the hottest ticket of 2024, but police are warning those desperate to get their hands on Taylor Swift tickets. If it looks too good to be true, it likely is. North Vancouver RCMP says it knows of 2 incidents where people have been scammed after buying what they thought were Swift tickets online. Both involved a Facebook marketplace. In both cases, the victim paid for the tickets only to have communication broken off. Both ticket buyers lost more than $1,000. Police are reminding would-be buyers to always be skeptical of online sellers and avoid buying from unknown people on Facebook or Craigslist. Here we have a live shot of downtown Vancouver. Russ Lacate will be with us with our full forecast coming up next.
So, Kyla, let's start off with the nice list. Who is on your nice list this year?
Oh, topping my nice list this year is the outgoing chief coroner for British Columbia, Lisa Lapointe. I think that this is somebody who has, as she's leaving her office, done so much for British Columbians as far as being outspoken, being willing to have the courage to talk about what's necessary, challenge the government on how existing laws are contributing to overdose drug deaths. She is doing everything that she can in her position. And, you know, even her exit, she's basically saying, I'm so fed up with how nothing has changed in the last several years that I've been doing my job. I'm leaving, but I'm not leaving happy. And she has the courage to say that, and I think that's amazing.
Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing more from Lisa Lapointe. She said she didn't really want to talk or do any kind of exit interviews or anything too soon. So in the new year, I think it'll be nice to have a good, long conversation with her. So, Mo, what about you? Who made your nice list?
Kyla had such a thoughtful answer. Oh, gosh. Okay,
the bar is high.
Oh yeah, well we're gonna lower it in a second. My pick is Daddy Cbus of Cbus memes.
Oh, that's a good one too.
The dude drops 10 hyper local dank memes every week. He's doing the Lord's work. He's really going to town with Ken Sim in particular. And if you don't know the Cbus memes account, look him up on Instagram. Give him a follow. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers already. Really doing some good stuff. And I do also want to give a shout out to Justin McElroy. I think he's a treasure in the media landscape here in BC.
Agreed.
Everyone knows that he's got great knowledge and information and makes everything really engaging. But just on a personal level, I want to say that he is very generous with his time. He's certainly answered a lot of my questions when I've needed clarifications on things. So shout out to Justin McElroy.
King of the bracket.
Absolutely, yeah. We got the meme king and we got the bracket
He's not
king.
generous when it comes to giving leeway to donuts.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. What's been your experience on that front, Kyla?
With Justin?
Yes.
The same thing. He's been very generous. I have had this horrible habit of trolling him at night on Twitter, and he has always just maintained a really great sense of humor and dished it back enough times that I really appreciated that.
You got, if you're dishing out, you got to take it too.
Absolutely.
You got to take it. Okay, Kyla, what about your naughty list then? I'd imagine Justin doesn't make the naughty list just for some of those over social media comments, that type of thing. Who's on your naughty list?
On my naughty list this year is everybody who owns an Airbnb.
Oh,
Nice.
Everybody.
Everybody. You started the year by taking housing stock away from people who need it to live in. And then you ended the year by whining and kicking your feet and throwing little petty tantrums over the fact that the government is finally going to say, hey, you can't do this when we're in a housing crisis. A move that really should have happened a long time earlier and should not have been unexpected for these people. So I have no sympathy.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Enjoy groundbreaking contemporary works of theatre, dance, music, and multimedia at the annual Push International Performing Arts Festival, January 19th to February 4th. For the festival program and tickets, visit pushfestival.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver Inbox and keep connected with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Russ Lacate joins us now with a look at our weather. Now, Russ, I have to know, will it be okay weather for people who are doing that last-minute shopping or having to drive around?
Around here it will be. Actually, Mother Nature in a cooperative mood. Things will settle down overnight, and it'll be a pleasant Saturday, and maybe we can get away with a decent Christmas Eve as well before the sky starts falling again. Let's look at our principal weather makers province-wide. The weather maker earlier today was that cold front that kind of zipped on through, and it left us with a sort of a mishmash of rain changing to snow and sleet and slush across parts of the southern interior. A little treacherous on the highways earlier this evening. I think late overnight that pattern will begin to improve. That system falls apart. High pressure moves in from both directions, and we see much of the province beginning to dry out over the following 24 hours. So that's good news. Short term, mind you, one weather warning. Again, it's for the north coast and Haida Gwaii. Very strong southeasterlies beginning tomorrow morning, continuing throughout the day Saturday, sustained up to 90, maybe gusting as high as 120 across sections of Haida Gwaii. Your forecast province-wide for tomorrow. When that ridge tips over, there might be a couple of scattered showers on the west coast of the island. That is it. Otherwise dry from the central coast to the northeast corner of the province, right through the Caribou region as well. Looking good into the South Thompson. 0 in the sun for Kamloops. 0 in the southeast corner of the province. Setting up for some sunshine looking ahead to the holidays. And yes, locally, it'll be a decent day as well. Your Christmas Day forecast doesn't look that different for the interior. It's really stable. It's calm. There's lots of sun in there. It's cool, but that's not as cold as it should be for this time of year. Where it's a little stormier, of course, is on the outer coast, with yet another system headed this way, probably arriving later on Christmas Eve. Your full forecast picture, it does include a small chance of showers developing late in the day, more so into the evening on Christmas Eve. And I think it trends wetter and windier Christmas Day and Boxing Day as well. Little rain for the holidays, Janella.
Well, I have a family favorite tradition to always go for a walk on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So It looks like we have some perfect weather in store for
you'll
that.
find a spot for sure.
Thanks, Russ. That is your late news for this Friday. Thank you so much for watching. For news at any time, visit our website, cbc.ca/BC. Have a great night.